Okay, we got two things to go over here. Last year I saw The Maze Runner, and I didn't know much about the Maze Runner series. It's yet another young adult dystopian series thing. I might have gone over that a little bit somewhere else before. The oddity of The Maze Runner is a dystopian series, and it's about these people in the future, in this dystopian future, after a solar flare erupts. This organization that oddly enough calls itself Wicked, which is really silly. That's their acronym for the World Education Kill Zone Defense or something like that. It's just convoluted. Anyway, I'm probably wrong on that one, but Kill Zone something. But they Kill Zone Command Education in Defense or something. But yeah, they're Wicked, and with a name like that, they're bound to be the bad guys, right? So apparently this society, this plague gets out because there's going to be a solar flare, and these military people apparently somehow subjugate the entire world. How do we do that? And try to inoculate them from the flare, which causes a plague. That's what's in the book in Killzone, the prequel. So the other three books in the series have Wicked testing people who are immune to the plague. The plague causes you to either go rage crazy or turn into a zombie. Either one, usually a zombie. So a zombie's in it, of course. Yeah, reason enough to see it, right? Zombies. But yeah, the thing about zombies though is after 2 or 3 weeks they would technically all be dead and rotting. But oh right, then you'd have no story. Anyway, so we could go on about zombies infinitum at Bakemont before. So anyway, but it just ruins it. But anyway, this story, Maze Runner, was about this team of teenagers who have to circumnavigate a maze they get trapped in, the maze wheel thing, so they can get out. They have to get past these weird creatures that have been engineered in there and get out, or they'll die. And in the first movie, they accomplish getting out of the maze, and it was okay. I wasn't a fan of the show though, so I had to go find some people that actually knew about the Maze Runner after seeing it. Fortunately, April and Blake from the church group, young adults, knew about it. Told me all about it, but the apparently the movie deviates quite a bit from the book. And now that I've read the book, and they actually kill a main character in the movie they're not supposed to, and yeah, that kind of screws up the whole thing because he's supposed to come back later. So they sort of imply that he came back in the second movie just because, why not? But he shouldn't be back. He should be back in the books, but yeah. So and then now they've come out with Maze Runner 2, The Scorch Trials, and they put them in this town. And although the maze story initially had them go into the maze or come out, and there was sort of a day-night cycle, there's sort of a linear thing going on here. In the new one, they go to this village that allegedly saves them. It's like a compound that saves them. And of course, bad guys. It's a new one that's just out, just now. Don't want to give away too much. It's still in theaters. Yeah, it turns out they're not good guys. They're other bad guys that are indirectly working for Wicked as well. So they have to escape yet again. But they escape into the town, into the city. Devastated city. Looks like New Mexico City, New Mexico. Because it is. Except they made it look devastated. Yeah, New Mexico. So they're down there in the heat, in the scorch. That's what they call it, the scorch. And New Mexico and Arizona are pretty hot. So, yeah. But if they're down there, it's not supposed to be Arizona or New Mexico. That's just where they filmed it. And they keep going around, running away from zombies, going to the city, going into a tunnel, coming out. And when they come out of the tunnel, they're somewhere else. And there's no time travel going on. There's no There's nothing like portals through time and space or anything like that. They just edited it really badly. The movie is like this all the way through. At one point, they leave the compound, they run across the field, and they fall into a mall that's been put up in sand and stuff. That implies the mall is right next to the compound and underground. Doesn't make sense. Then they leave the shopping mall that's got sand in it. Yeah. And they go another way because the bad guys are chasing them. They go into another tunnel, and when they come out, they're in the middle of a city that looks like it's miles from that mall. It's middle of this devastated city. And then later on, they go into another tunnel, and they end up in a desert that is nowhere near anything, and they start walking around the desert, and then they're near some freeways that are in the desert, apparently, and then the zombies come, and one of them gets zombied, and then they have to kill it, and he has to kill himself, because he's a zombie. He's going to turn into a zombie. Not a rage monster, a zombie. I don't know how they made that distinction. They didn't explain. The second movie apparently is a mess. It'd be interesting to find April and Blake and ask them, okay, why does the next movie doing this? And I think Blake will probably say, I don't know. They messed it up. It's awful. They didn't do it right. but no, maybe it's like that. I don't know. I haven't asked him. But yeah, it keeps jumping around to these different places, and they find yet another compound after going through the desert. It's out in the middle of nowhere because they've been there it seems like for days. They've been going up since like the guys there are sort of turncoats but not quite evil, and they help them to get to the sanctuary place up in the mountains. And to get there, they have to go down in a tunnel again. They go down the tunnel, and they come out in the damn city again. Or at least a city that looks a heck of a lot like the city. Once there, the hero, who isn't a very charismatic actor, as some other critics have pointed out, the hero ends up at a rave, like in The Matrix 2. But not really. And he ends up at the rave, and he passes out, and he ends up waking up, and the hero dude from the compound has come back to rescue him. And then they go off to this other place. And they got the chick from... They got one of the girls from... They got one of the girls from Divergent in it. I haven't seen Divergent, but I recognize the poster, character. Like, that's confusing. It looks like she doesn't know she's in the wrong movie. So eventually they're going to get to the sanctuary, and everything is going to end up the other way. But I'm not going to give away the ending. And it's like, so yeah, the Maze Runner 2, The Scorched Trials is the second one in a trilogy. They're not going to separate the third one into two more movies like they did with the Hunger Games. Fortunately, it's just one. Until the studio might decide to separate. I don't think they're going to, though. I don't think they're going to do that. If they do, they probably will at the last minute. But they don't have to. Because the characters are really all not that likable. So, it doesn't matter. So, yeah, that was the Scorched Trials. Basically, a little snippet of that. The thing about dystopian societies in young adult fiction, I know the dystopia represents the young adult angst and growing up and all that. And the oppressive adults are doing this and that, and they have to stop the oppressive adults, and then they take over. What they don't point out is, like, what happens later. I think if you have, like... And I did this in my Star Trek Chimera role-playing game, because we became adults. In Star Trek Meets On Location, we grew up in our silly Trek games, and we grew up. So we made fun of that, and we had like, okay, what would happen if the society, those kids that were like out of line kind of grew up and they did their own thing? They would basically kind of devastate the universe. So that's kind of what's going on with some of the other stuff that's going on. I also took some of that idea of the dystopia, and I said, okay, do we have a ready-made Kal Kat story that we can mess with to do something like that, a dystopia, but a fun one? Since, what would happen if the teenagers just had their own say, and at the Baycon, I was like, okay, yeah, we do have something. I was thinking about it. Actually, it was mentioned originally by the Winter Twins. They're all, find a story that you kind of liked and expand it. Obvious writers. Greetings, this is Kal Kat, the Kal Katster. and this is a movie review. Stone Gremlins has just done this one, so I haven't watched theirs yet. I'm going to do mine first. It's been 3 years since the Maze Runner movies, or two since part two. They've been 1 and 2 like one after the other, but then one of the lead actors got hurt in the train stunt scene, so they had to delay production for like a year, and they finally finished it. So near the end of 2017, apparently they were gonna do one after the other each year, like the Hunger Games and like Divergent did, but the Divergent saga ended up not finishing on movies, but ended up finishing on TV. This may not be on the Kal Kat show thing, so I'm gonna put my short reviews of Maze Runner 1 and 2 from 2015 with my review of this one to finish the trilogy, kind of like I did with Resident Evil saga, because there was like, but in that one I sort of recapped and redid the whole thing because the other 4 had been lost. So I did watch the other Maze Runners. No need to go into what I did in the other ones because when you look at this you'll see that I already did years ago. So the book series, National's book series, is sort of a zombie flick, plague movie / young adult dystopia, where an evil organization trying to find a cure for the zombie plague has called themselves Wicked, which is the strangest thing, unless the author was a teenager when he thought of it, or was a fan of Wicked, the movie, the Wizard of Oz prequel. He did a couple of sequel prequels since, about the Maze, the Kill Order, and the other one. They're probably not going to make movies out of those. It'd be pointless to go back and do it over again. This is going to contain some minor plot spoilers. Well, it has to contain plot spoilers just because it's the end of the trilogy. Does everything work out? Fortunately, yes, it does not end with any kind of... it doesn't end with another cliffhanger. Unfortunately. So the Maze Runner 3 is called the Death Cure. The title alone gives you a hint that it might actually end badly, and that it might not be a cure. Kind of like Resident Evil, a lot like Resident Evil in many, many ways. You got your zombies, you got your dystopian hero that somehow the messiah of the group. You have occasionally they're arguing and having angst together, but then they're not. I found that the second movie was kind of a mess, because even though parts of it were really cool, they would jump scenery to other places, like in the middle of scenes. There were parts in part 2 where there was this weird scene in which they escaped the maze fortress, and then they're in the middle of a desert, devastated city. It looks like Denver or something, or Arizona or New Mexico, and it's destroyed. And then cinematically, what looks like a day, they arrive at this other place that's in a mountain area. How did they get there? Where are they? What's that about? And then conceivably, it looks like they end up back in the desert again, in a slightly different desert. And then they go off in the mountains again, and then at the end they're sort of in a mountainous thing, and then we end with one of the heroes getting cacked. And like in the first one, they cacked the wrong hero because he's supposed to show up again. The director of the latest one rectified that and just said, "Oh, he's alive." Like, okay, didn't I kill you? Oh, never mind. Okay, but yeah, that's a zombie flick. If this was written by somebody that's a teenager, just didn't know how to pace movies, I would say, okay, fine. This kid wrote it. He didn't know what he's doing. He hasn't seen a million other zombie movies. But clearly the books, or at least the movies, take off on the idea that they already know the zombie genre. The Death Cure. So the two main bad guys are sort of a platinum blonde-haired older lady and a creepy-looking, short, stubbly, gray-haired man. His hair is stubbly, and he's got a stubbly beard. And they are trying to force Minu to do things. to find. There's a scene where he's in the maze again, but he's not really in the maze. It's projection. This movie seems to imply that the maze is a projection. However, in the books, the maze is actually underground, like the Hunger Games, and it's actually projected, so it is sort of a simulation. And this movie kind of retcons it back to the book, and has part of this maze sequence in this guy's head be actually projection. In the first movie, though, they established the maze was an actual physical place outside of something like New Mexico or Arizona, and they escape from that, and it's obviously a fortress that's there. That's the maze. They're in another city that's supposed to be Denver. It looked more like Chicago. Or maybe Montreal. Quebec or something. Mixed in together. Yeah, so in part 2, they go to the city. You have your classic tropes. You have, when you do a dystopian story, your final story has to be them storming the fortress, like the Hidden Fortress. You have to do Murasaki again. Storm the fortress, go into the or the old castle Robin Hood kind of thing. Goes back to that too. You have to have the heroes go back to the origins of where they were in order to rescue somebody. So they got to rescue Minyu, and I got to chuckle at Minyu because that was the name of my cat. Well, technically our cat, my sister's cat. Back in it's an odd name for an Asian guy to be called Minyu. Just odd. It's very, they spelled it a little differently, but they keep pronouncing it Menu. We're making Menu. Yeah. Which is a joke on Making Me New is a Christian song, but that's not in the movie. But the guy is named Menu. They got to go rescue him. He's got the cure, allegedly, in his blood. That doesn't work, as it turns out. It's the death cure. So, yeah. There are going to be spoilers just for the plot of the movie, so if you want the movie spoiled, don't watch this review until you've seen it. Yeah, well, our heroes do team up once again with the Del Toro-like character and the Hispanic character, the girl and thing, and they do the city. He's got a wall around it, and they go inside the city. Kind of reminiscent of the beginning of World War Z with the zombies. For some reason, that part of the wall's open. It's probably, since it's in the books, and the books are like 2011, it's not about current politics. They have a wall around the city, but it's actually more based on probably the Israeli wall built in the mid-2000s than any other kind of wall anywhere else that might be built. So it's not about that. The bad guy's not Trump, so I hope nobody's saying that, because no, he's not. The bad lady's not Hillary. No, not saying that. The bad guy is unnecessarily over the top chewing scenery. They're trying to be evil, very Boosie type of character. I'm not sure who all the actors are. I'm not going to bother looking it up because it's just my review. It's my opinion. Yeah. So first they attack the train. They attack the train with the children on it, looking for the bad guy. Then they go on to do the other stuff. Then they decide they have to go to the city. So they get this charismatic guy on a beach who decides, we got to go to the city. The charismatic guy says, that's a bad idea. Hero wants to go to the city. Rescue Manu from the city. And so they go on their way, on their own, but the long-haired guy, who's the hero, he chases after them to make sure they manage to commandeer one of those flying helicopter ship things. They only get one, and there aren't any more in it. They blew up one, they get one. And they use that constantly in the movie, wondering why the other bad guys didn't shoot it down. Don't know. But yeah, this is kind of a quick thing. So it was some of them have turned to zombies, some of them haven't. They imply early on in the story that the short Latin girl was cured somehow. But yeah, that begs the question. Then how come if she was cured somehow, how come they didn't notice? Is she one of the other people? How come Wicked didn't notice? They have tracking devices on them, which finally they take out of them. But they have, in order to do that, they have to rescue Teresa, one of the actresses from the thing. Thomas and them have to go in and rescue Teresa. And And she comes to them in the walls of the city at one point. The cure, even though she didn't want to at first, but she agrees to do it. She's sort of a bad guy, but actually Thomas is technically sort of a bad guy too. They both know the layout. They've been there because, see, they were brainwashed early on to go into the maze and be sort of like, you know, those Saw movies where the guy was dead but he wasn't, kind of like that. Those old classic killer movies where the killer's right there. But Thomas is supposed to be the good guy, so he's a good guy. The ending is different than the book. I don't own the book, but I read online, and the book is different. The ending is different. They do get away. That's yay, spoilers. But they do defeat the bad guys, but they defeat them differently. Some of the scenes are in the movie, which is impressive. I won't give away everything. I did see. It was a pretty packed house. It was in the theater. Well, it was about half, I'd say. Friday showing. The whole thing was going about doing their thing. And so we have, yep, we have the heroes having a gun battle, and then the leader of the Ron Perlman-looking leader guy with a fucked up, messed up face. I guess he's part alien, bad guy or something. I guess the zombies kind of gain some sort of like leader, I guess, or something. That's kind of unclear. He looks like a cross between the evil Davy Jones guy and Vincent from Beauty and the Beast. For the way back TV show before the Disney movie, Beauty and the Beast, Ron Perlman. He looks like that. But crossed with Davy Jones. He's got this sort of one side of his face. What's wrong with this face? Anyway, so yeah, that's from Lead Letter Media. I'm just stealing a line from them. I don't know if they've done it yet. Probably. I don't know if they will. And then they go into the thing, and you could see, they kept telegraphing the death of the bad guy. I wouldn't give everything away. They kept telegraphing the death of the bad guy, showing the aliens and the bad guys, the gunfight and all this. There's a lot of other stuff going on in there. There's an elevator chase. There's a clever scene where they rip off Evil from, where they're in the elevator with the bad guy. They ripped off an M. Night Shyamalan movie. It's kind of funny. They were in there with the bad guy. They didn't know it because they had masks on. Bad guy's right there, and he's there. So they put on masks to be guards to sneak into the base and shoot the bad guys. And they're in the elevator with the bad guy at one point. But anyway, there's a scene in which, near the end, where there's zombies behind a glass in this green goo. And I was like, I'd probably said it aloud. I was like, I bet they're going to attack that guy. Oh, somebody makes me go, don't give it away. Well, I didn't know. I was just going to guess, because they keep cutting back to that scene. They're like, oh. They keep cutting back to it. They're projecting it. It's like, obviously, the zombie's going to pop out through the cage somehow. Anyway, so that's, so in the end we have a movie that's about half a good movie, I guess. A little over 60%. The previews were boring. They included some boring stuff. Yeah, not relevant, really. Anyway, that's it.